Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Please give me 1 second. I need to mute. Sorry about that, folks. Alrighty. So, episode 72 and the first Christmas mystery review. These films have Christmas either as a part of them or during them. They are debatable on whether or not they are actually Christmas films, some of them. But this one had the hints Christmas in outer space. And I also delivered some hints on Twitter. If anybody can see my tweets on Twitter, because I'm pretty much thinking about getting off of Twitter completely and Facebook completely, because my promotionals on Twitter and Facebook are not seen. Facebook has flagged me as a risky profile. So it's like, fine, fuck you both, to Twitter and to Facebook, because I'm sick of being censored. I'm going to go probably move on to other platforms like Minds and Getter. You can always still find me on Facebook, though, or not Facebook, but YouTube. And I'll probably be putting most of my promotional stuff on my community page. So, with that out of the way, the final hint was the year 2093, which is when the main events of this film takes place. And for those of you who haven't guessed, it is Prometheus. This film takes place between December 21st and New Year's. So, yeah. This film starts, or let me get to my talking points here. 2012, this movie by Ridley Scott was made to be a prequel to Alien. I believe this was also a tribute movie to Tony Scott, his brother. It was called Prometheus, starring Noomi Rapace, Michael Fassbender, I can't talk today. Michael Fassbender, Idris Elba, Guy Pearce, Benedict Wong from the MCU, as you all know, and Patrick Wilson, who has a small bit in this, and Charlize Theron. We start with one of the people that are known as engineers on a planet killing himself so his DNA can seed the planet with life. The one thing I do like about this opening sequence before we see the engineer is it has a great score, beautiful landscape shots. I mean, you see some great stuff in this film. And when it comes to sweeping landscape shots with the cinematography and whatnot, this film really does a great job with that. And as the beginning of the film starts, you're basically just flying through landscape, and then you see the shadow on the landscape of the ship that drops this engineer off so he can seed the planet with life. And he puts down this goo, the life goo, that tears him apart so that his DNA can be re-engineered and basically create life from his own genetic structure, which is a pretty god-modded kind of thing to do, you know? Me, personally, when it comes to Alien and Predator lore, I prefer the lore that came before these movies, where predators had the aliens created so that they could be the perfect hunting tool for their youngsters, for their young bloods. And this one, or with this introduction into the Alien franchise as well as Alien Covenant, it just basically totally screws it up. So, let's see here. The title sequence is very similar to the Alien movie with the lettering, how it does one line of each letter slowly and whatnot. And then we are introduced into the Isle of Skye in Scotland in the year 2089, where we meet Dr. Shaw and Dr. Holloway. Dr. Shaw is Numi Rapace's character. Dr. Holloway, I can't remember that actor's name. I really don't like the character of Dr. Holloway in this film, to be completely honest. I think he's an asshole and richly deserving of his death. He is just seriously egomaniacal. I mean, there are moments where his character attitude is completely different, mostly in times when he is alone with Shaw, because they are a couple. I also like that if you look at the special features, because they find a cave painting in the Isle of Skye that predates other paintings of the same picture or pictograph through millennia. This one is 35,000 years old, where ancient civilizations have also put it, or the same structure of a giant person pointing to the stars in a specific star constellation. Now, it takes 2 years for them to essentially get an audience with the Weyland Corporation. And if you look into the special features of this film, you see that Shaw is trying to make her case to Weyland, and it's doing biometrics, and it's doing, or they're using Yutani, or the Yutani Corporation's biometric scans to see if these people are actually telling the truth or if they're kooks. And I really do like the different things that they have. I mean, they even have a scene with a younger Peter Weyland, who Guy Pearce plays in this film, where he is essentially doing a presentation for corporations around the world in the scientific community, where he talks about what his corporation's doing, and a scene in a movie that David Fassbender's character likes, where it shows a gentleman putting a match out with his fingers, and he talks about the same quote: "The trick is, William Potter is not minding that it hurts," and talking about how he is a titan giving fire to the world, Prometheus specifically. So yes, going through all the special features of this film is actually pretty cool. You learn a great deal about behind the scenes stuff and whatnot. I really do like the aesthetic of this film, not from an alien lore perspective, but from an objective perspective. This film is actually quite well put together. Now, getting back into the film, where she says that to Charlie, "I think they want us to find him," we are then skipped to 4 years later, in the year 2093, specifically December 21st, where we see a ship going across the spacescape, or instead of a landscape, spacescape, with a crew of 17. It's a scientific exploratory vessel, Prometheus. Date, December 21st, 2093. Distance from Earth, 3.27 times 10 to the 14th power of kilometers, meaning they are approximately 203 trillion miles from Earth. I actually had to look that up. And destination undisclosed. We are introduced to Michael Fassbender's character, David, and he looks in on Dr. Shaw's dreams, where she is remembering she's remembering a memory with her father, who is played by Patrick Wilson. And hello, Happy Dino and Keely Chow. Good to see you. I'm reviewing Prometheus. And happy day to you, Happy Dinosaur. Thank you. And lovely Sherry. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for stopping in. And yeah, she talks, or this scene is actually a good way of establishing her faith. And even though she is a scientist, she still does have faith in her own Catholic way. She wears her father's crucifix, and her father, or Patrick Wilson, plays as brief a moment in this film. He plays a great scene where he is explaining to his daughter his belief system and where they are. This person's died. It's like, what happened to that man? He died. Well, why aren't you helping him? They don't want my help. Well, or where did they go? Well, there's many names for it. Or paradise, heaven. All I know is that it's someplace beautiful. How do you know it's beautiful? Because it's what I believe. It's actually, I do have, like I said, the major hint for these movies is that they take place during Christmas or around Christmas. So yes, these are Christmas films. And Prometheus is one that I actually had been requested by a friend to actually do. So I turned it into a mystery review for the Christmas month. I found the cut dialogue from the engineer would have made a plot more interesting. Exactly. And I actually wanted to watch that deleted scene one more time before the stream started, but I couldn't because I had an emergency situation I had to attend to. But we then see David in the dream, so he has to get out of it. Essentially, David being in the dream is his time, or is basically his way of, or the audience's way of saying he's been in there too long and he has to terminate the connection. So we see the pods much like the movie Alien, the cryopods or hypersleep pods or whatever they want to call them. They call them cryopods here, or in this film. And I love David's routine where his acting method as an android. Michael Fassbender is just a great actor. When you see him playing an android where he's walking around, he sees the tiniest speck, he looks down, he picks it up and scans it, and he's riding a bike, twirling a basketball on his finger, and then tosses it over, gets a swish. It's like, holy crap, man. Though the movie is written by David Lindelof, it's rarely ever good. And you then see him coloring his roots to his hair to make himself perfectly blonde because his hair is brown in real life. And he's watching a film, and it's the one where the guy burns his finger and he's like, oh, that damn well hurts. Well, of course it hurts. Or certainly it hurts. Well, what's the trick then? The trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts. And then he continues to repeat this line as he's walking throughout the ship. And we then get Destination Threshold. The ship is slowing down, causing a pool table with billiards to slide and whatnot. So he's going to make sure that people are waking up. Yes, he really is, to be completely honest. But he also does play the character of David very well. Even though I'm not really a fan of Alien Covenant too much, I still can appreciate some of the visuals and some of the acting in the film. But Prometheus, objectively speaking, take away the fact that it's part of the Alien universe, you got a good film, objectively speaking. Connecting it, however, with the Alien film, you got a terrible movie. Right, Kitty. Good to see you. How you doing? So, everybody's waking up, and you see Charlize Theron playing Vickers. She's gotten out of her pod already, and you see that she is truly a cold-hearted bitch. She's out of that pod after 2 years of sleeping. Most people would have muscle atrophy after 2 years of sleeping. Well, somehow they fixed that within the many years of this movie taking place between now and 2093 or 2091 when they actually started the trip. So yeah, they've managed to make sure that people don't lose any sort of muscle mass while space traveling for years on end while they're in their hypersleep. I mean, holy crap, man. Just thinking about that kind of stuff, you know? And also, before the people wake up, you also see that David is learning the language or learning language lessons and basically the breakdown of the languages that the engineers might understand. But getting back to Vickers waking up, she asks, or she's like, how long? And he says 2 years, 4 months, 18 days, 36 hours, 15 minutes. And he would have gone, I'm guessing, judging by looking at 2 to 4, 18 to 36, 15 minutes. I'm guessing he would have said 30 seconds if she didn't interrupt him. She said, any casualties? And he's like, casualties, Mom? Now, has anybody died? No, Mom. Everyone's fine. So what people don't realize on their first viewing of this film, she's actually asking if Peter Weyland is dead. Peter Weyland, unbeknownst to the entire crew, except for her and David, is on that ship. So it's like, holy crap, you know? You gotta, or after you watch it the first time and maybe a second time, you understand certain hints throughout this film. So one of the things that I didn't, or that I caught about the whole 2 years, 4 months, 18 days, 36 hours, 15 minutes, he said 36 hours in 24-hour span days. So the real thing would be 2 years, 4 months, 19 days, 12 hours. But because you were doing the doubles with the timing, there you go. Now, we also see Yannick, played by Idris Elba. Great actor. I like Idris Elba as an actor. Do I like what he says a lot outside of a film production? Not really. But Idris Elba is actually a very great freaking actor. And Michelle Crocker, good to see you. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, it's Christmas time. So, orange Santa hat. And freaking Vickers, when she looks at the Christmas tree that he's putting up, she's like, what is that? It's like, are you so freaking nuts that, thank you, Rhett. Are you so freaking separated from society that you don't even know what a fucking Christmas tree is? I mean, it only reinforces, in my opinion, what he asks her later on. It's like, it's Christmas time. Vickers, we need the holidays to let us know that time's still moving. So, and she's like, well, briefing's in 10 minutes, Captain. You better get moving. Well, I hadn't had breakfast yet. And you get Milburn and Fifield, and Milburn wants to talk with Fifield, and he's like, no offense, I've been asleep for 2 years. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to make money. Fucking Fifield is just such a jackass. And he does all redheads a disservice for being such, or that much of a jackass. I mean, redheads can be jackasses, and Irish people can be jackasses. Fifield's just a jackass. Seriously, too much of a jackass, in my opinion. But hey, that's fine. We get to the hold on. 2 years instead of 4. Now, the briefing, we then see Weyland on Mars on a recording claiming to be dead. He's like, I am recording this 22 June. You've probably, or 2091, you have reached your your destination, and I am long dead. Or may I rest in peace. And he talks about his paternity proclamation of David. There is a man sitting amongst you named David. He is not a human, or he is not human. He is an android, and yada, yada, yada. And he is the closest thing to a son I will ever have. And you see Vickers' face in a frown of spite while David is smiling about this as he hears Wayland talking about him being the closest thing to a son that Wayland will ever have. And he's like, unfortunately, he can never understand or be grateful for these things because he lacks the one thing that all humans have, a soul. Well, this causes David's smile to kind of disappear. One thing you notice about David in this film, David is more self-aware than even Peter Wayland understands. Peter Wayland opened Pandora's box when it came to artificial intelligence and creating David. David is the very first android of the David series. And then we get the other one, Walter, later on with inhibitors and whatnot. And I heard Idris Elba was supposed to be James Bond, but he was considered too black. Can we say racist? Actually, the producers eventually, or to go off on this thing a little bit, the producers say that James Bond is already an established character. They don't want to change his character. Now, if they end up doing that, fine. But I think, personally, James Bond should be white and British. Give Tom Holland or frickin' Superman, Henry Cavill, the role. Keep some consistency in storytelling. That's the main thing that I personally like about storytelling, is if you remain consistent. Michelle, I don't think he was ever considered for a role. Misspoke. It was just a popular guess. It was actually a popular demand, right, Kitty, to be completely honest. Yeah, it was actually popular or demanded by the SJWs out there. It was like, we need a female Bond or we need a black Bond. James Bond's too white. Hollywood is basically anti-white right now, folks. It's just the way it is. I've had to learn to live with it. However, I will still keep calling it out. Anywho, can you all still hear me? Yeah. People thought he'd be perfect. Well, maybe he might be perfect. Who knows? I mean, he already said he was Black Superman in Hobbs and Shaw, so yeah. Who knows? So then we get, or he gives the floor over to Shaw and Holloway, and he's like, or Holloway's being his normal pompous ass for a moment. Well, never had to follow a ghost before. And they show everybody the paintings of the engineer pointing to the stars on Earth, and that they arrived at the same star configuration today, or that day. And they believe that it was an invitation from engineers. Well, it was an invitation of sorts, in my opinion. We need those orange hats on your merch shop. They're generic. I can't take credit for this. This is something I ordered off of Amazon. Sorry, Michelle. And me, I wouldn't know about going about merch, so I'd need help with that. But anyway. Let's see here. Right. So they say that, or Shaw says that they engineered us, and they're like bullshit and whatnot. Everybody's not believing it. So, well, it still doesn't matter. They're still investigating. Now, the reason why the engineers, in my own personal opinion, invited them on the cave paintings and whatnot, it's like, once you reach these stars, you can, or come to us. Well, they gave them a few thousand years. People or humans didn't evolve enough, apparently, to them. I think David lets Wayland die because he's tired of Wayland pointing out his limitations. I mean, that would be the case, I'm willing to bet, if David didn't have his head ripped off. I'm just saying. But that's later in the film. So we then get the conversation between Vickers and the two doctors, and David making them a vodka martini up. And we get the introduction to the Pauling Med Pod set up for later. It's a nice little way of doing it. And Vickers is like, if you do run into these beings down there, you're not to talk with them. You're not to engage in conversation with them. You're to report specifically to me. And I love how Holloway calls her. I was like, is there some sort of agenda going on here? And it really is just, it's like, God, dude, that is such freaking great way of saying it. Is there some sort of agenda? If only people knew that Hollywood would be pushing an agenda later on. And she tells him, it's like, if you raised the money yourself and didn't come to Wayland spending $1 trillion on this, we'd be happily pursuing your agenda. But you didn't, so that makes you an employee. And then we get to the entry scene with the ship where everybody's strapping down. Benedict Wong plays one of the navigators to this film, and he does a great job with it. It's like, no offense, dude, but you're a ship pilot later on. And the CGI with the scene going through where they see a bigger mountain than Everest, like 54 or 58,000 or something, is like, makes Everest look like a baby brother. Also, the alien terrain is very well shot. You see Holloway's like, right over there. Can you put us down there? God does not build in straight lines. It's a good line. I'm not gonna fault that line. That was actually a very good line there. God does not build in straight lines. He's absolutely right. A natural progression would not be straight like that. Nature is, by design, chaotic. And they find a structure that they land by. Now, this structure is interesting because if you take a look at this structure, when they're getting, or before they take a look at the structure, but before they head out. Now, that structure has a human face or human-like face on it, or the engineer face. But once the storms start picking up, that face dissolves into a skeletal face, which is very creepy and very telling in a way. Also, I like how David shoots right back at Holloway. It's like, you boy, you're coming with us. I'd be delighted. And then he literally asks David, it's like, David, why are you wearing a suit, man? I beg your pardon? You don't breathe. Why are you wearing a suit? I wear this suit, or I was designed to look like you so that people would be comfortable. If I don't wear the suit, it would defeat the purpose. And he's like, they're making you guys pretty close to us, huh? Not too close, I hope. I mean, he fires right back at David because David is literally being such a fucking asshole to him. Or not David, but Holloway is being such a fucking asshole to David. And it just reinforces that Holloway deserves death in this film. He completely deserves to die in the most brutal of ways in which he does, because just how much he he is just so fucking egomaniacal. And in a horror movie, the egomaniacs, they bite it. They bite it quick. So they're heading out, or there's another woman or another guy that's getting a weapon ready, and Shaw's like, this is a scientific expedition, no weapons. Yeah, good luck with that. And so she looks down because she's like, oh, great. Now we got a freaking crazy ass with a gun. So they head out to the structure, and they find out that they can breathe in there, that it's breathable. And Holloway, being the asshole that he is, removes his helmet. And everybody else does it too. And we see the hidden message of the engineers, where they're running away from something. What could they be running away from? You don't see it in their little holographic imagery throughout the ship that they're on, the structure that they're on, rather. And we then see an engineer collapse and the door come down on its head inside of the projection or the holographic imaging. And so they see the body and it's like, oh my God, Charlie, we found him. And David's trying to open the door and it's like, David, what are you doing? I'm attempting to open the door. No, we really don't want to do that. Boom, starts opening. Oops, sorry. He's so freaking sarcastic about that apology. I love Michael Fassbender in this film, dude. He's like, oops, sorry. I mean, Michael Fassbender should be a freaking Sith Lord in Star Wars that's not done by Disney. He would be the perfect kind of Sith, you know? So we get the vases and we get Fifield. He's like, no, man, I'm out of here. And freaking, he just goes off on Shaw. And she's like, hey, oi, Fifield, where are you going? What? He's like, what? Look, I'm a geologist. I care about rocks. I love rocks. It seems you guys don't give a shit about rocks. What you do seem to give a shit about is gigantic dead bodies. I mean, he's yelling this right in her face, man. Right up in her face, like this close. And he's like, and I may not have anything to contribute in the gigantic dead body arena. I'm going to go back to the ship, if you don't mind. And he gets Milburn to go with, and he's like, what about you? You want to go? Yeah, ship good. Yeah, ship very good. Congratulations on meeting your maker. And she just gives it right back. Thank you. I love how he does that. He just does that so freaking well. So they get in there and whatnot, and they see the vases, and they see a mural. Now, you can't really see clearly what that mural is, but you also see alien architecture as well. You see that it's basically there's xenomorph architecture or xenomorph designs in that room. And, well, this is what kind of contradicts Alien Covenant. You see, Alien Covenant, the aliens were essentially xenomorphs, were created by David. So, yeah. Huh. It must make one wonder. But anyway. So they see that these worms, as they walk by, you see David, or you see somebody walk and put a footprint, and you see these tiny little worms. You also see that the vases are sweating and that they start to ooze. And Door's the most powerful thing in the alien universe. Yeah, I know, right? And you see that these worms start to get into the ooze. Well, they turn up later. It's a nice little setup. And David takes one of these vases that didn't start oozing, and they found the decapitated head. So Shaw grabs the head, and they all start to get out of there because now a storm front is coming, which is silica and other things that would fry their suits in minutes. So it's now a race against time movie. You get to drive your little doom buggies. Are they going to make it? You don't know if they're going to make it. Obviously, they're going to make it because they have to live longer through the movie. But this storm, or they hit a bump and the head falls out of the bag carrying the head falls off of Shaw's lap. So she has to go to it. And immediately when she grabs the head and looks up, boom, the freaking storm it's basically like this, where I'm facing the camera here. And it's just like, boom, the storm just smashes into her, tossing her body. So boyfriend goes to get her. David goes out to get both of them because they're idiots. And they then start to look at the head. So it's like, uh-huh. I mean, so we get to the examination, or they also find that Milburn and Fifield are still there, or still in the structure. And Fifield also created pups, which are these. Now, I would like one of these pup things where you could just toss it up and it will scan the entire area. 3D mapping devices, dude, or folks. These 3D mapping devices are pretty freaking cool. Pups, my pups, tosses them up, and then he howls and whatnot. I mean, it's pretty cool, these scanners and whatnot. Those are cool. Now, if they can actually create those kind of things to run on some sort of energy device separate from them, which apparently they do, because nothing or battery life for that thing. They must have some pretty cool batteries in the future, I'm telling you. But yes, the pups are one of my favorite things in this film, technology-wise. So, also, can you all hear me clearly? Because I keep on getting the wonky internet signal thing. So just let me know if I've been dropping out or skipping or anything, please, in the chat. Thank you very much. So they start to examine the head, and they find out that it's a helmet. Well, the space jockey helmet used to be an actual head, because that suit was actually a bone structure in the movie Alien. So the scene is completely creepy. You got freaking Holloway in the back just basically drinking alcohol, just slogging and whatnot, getting drunk. Everything seems fine stream-wise. Thank you, Riot Kitty. Then try to reanimate a decapitated head unsuccessfully when they ain't Herbert West. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, here you go. Okay, thank you, Happy Dinosaur. Now, yeah, there's like, let's try electrocuting his head to trick the brain to making it think it's still alive. Well, okay, you get a little bit of eye twitch, and then you get this weird shit like fungus growing on its head. And this head is in a lot of pain. You see that it's really hurting. And it's like, why would you do that to something? What, did you expect it to talk to you? You crazy bastards. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, good to see you, man. Thank you for stopping in. And I just love it. It's like, this thing is like, and it starts bulging and shit, so they have David isolate it, and then the freaking head just busts open, man. Great scene. Really is a great scene. It's like the dumbasses of scientists. I mean, really. And you see David walk off because he's just upset and drunk, and it's like, fucking waste of time, man. And you see that David is or after that scene, we then see David talking with somebody or somebody who's in a pod. Now, upon second viewing, you'd know it to be Wayland. And they actually, I don't think they filmed the scene, but inside of the dream is a younger Wayland, Guy Pearce, sitting by a poolside in shorts, sipping on a martini or some shit while he's talking with David to basically tell David, get them to try harder. And you see Vickers bitching at David when he gets out. It's like, what did he say? He said, try harder. She really fucking hates David. I mean, it really makes you understand with the full context why they hate each other or why she hates him so much. So then we see David with the vase that he took out of the area, and essentially he starts going through this thing while Shaw and Ford, the Scottish woman, is helping her with isolating DNA samples, and they find out that the DNAs match human DNA and the engineer DNA. And you see David looking at this goo on his finger. Now, it's like really up that close where you could see a clear fingerprint, but I also like that on the fingerprint, you see the W of Wayland Industries, which is pretty cool. And when he says the whole big things have small beginnings, and just like right there on the fingertip, you actually see the Wayland W, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's the kind of attention to detail that is that is interesting in these movies, is that if you have a artificial human or synthetic or android or robot, as they call them in different ways, shapes, and forms, you want to be able to make sure that these things can be identified, especially if they become too human. So, I mean, one of the things that I absolutely love about Alien Covenant, even though I don't like that film, is when Walter starts talking with David, and it's like, I'm built slightly different and whatnot. He's like, well, what was wrong with my design? You frightened people. You were too human. And it's like, oh shit. Looks like in the time that David's been away. Yikes. But yeah. Back to Prometheus. We get the scene where Holloway is drunk, playing with the pool balls, pissed off that he couldn't talk to the engineers, that they were all dead, and David comes in with a drink to top him off, and he's like, have a drink with me, pal. And he's like, I'm afraid it'd be wasted on me. And so he keeps his finger up like this until he puts it, or he pours the drink. He dips the finger in, putting the alien goo in the drink for Holloway. How does the alcohol in that goo or in that drink not kill the goo? I mean, it does make one wonder. And how you doing, Ruben? Good to see you. So it's like, one must wonder I'm always the kind of person that will deep dive into this shit to basically ask, how did the alcohol not kill the whatever, or the goo, and this and that. But that's how Holloway gets infected. And you see that David has no problem harming an individual. They don't have the 3 laws of robotics with David, because look what he does in Alien Covenant, man. He slaughters people. But anyway, him dipping, it's like, he's infecting people. This dude He's wailing through and through. He doesn't give a shit about people, man. It really is freaking awesome that this robot is this fucking evil. So we also see Milburn and Fifield finding a bunch of dead bodies. But before I get to that, back on the talking points, Charlie is constantly reminding David, he's like, good thing you're not a real boy, huh? So you can't be disappointed. Yes, it's wonderful, in fact. I mean, the way that you see David's mannerisms, aliens and Blade Runner are connected. I find that the branding on David Finger ruins the fan theory that Alien and Blade Runner are connected. Well, you can't, or it is just that. It was a fan theory. Can't always get your shit right, you know? So we see that Milburn and Fifield find a pile of dead bodies, and Yannick talks with them while they're there. It's like, you guys are going to have to pull out some thermal blankets and take a rest because we can't get you while the storm is out there. But we're also finding another life form about 100 yards from where you found your head, or found the head. And, well, you guys have a good night now. Scare the hell out of him, then fucking leave him alone. Isn't that wonderful, man? This movie did everything right and everything wrong at the same time, simultaneously, in such a perfect blend of objective fashion. So, Vickers then comes in later on to the bridge to look at the scan of the pyramid, as they call it. And before that happens, Sean Holloway start talking about how they were successful, they were right in their thesis that these things created them. And then they start having sex because, well, he's drunk. She's kind of emotional because she can't have kids and whatnot. And it just gets all, I don't know how that works. He's drunk and he's like, there's just this little passionate bit here. Thankfully, they cut away from that. I mean, even though Numi Rapace is freaking built for her, she's stacked in this movie. Not boob-wise, but she's in great shape for this film. I mean, she is packing a pretty good abdomen. But while they're fucking, you get Vickers coming in, and you have the Captain Yannick playing that thing. I can't remember what it's called. It's like an accordion kind of thing. And she's like, that thing sounds like a dying cat. I'll have you know that this thing once belonged to the great Stephen Stills, who sang the song that he was singing afterwards. And he's like, you know, if you're looking to get laid, you don't have to pretend to be looking at the pyramid scan. It's like, hey, I'm trying to get laid. She's like, yeah, I couldn't I? But it doesn't make sense for me to leave every man on earth if I wanted to get laid. So she starts walking away. And the captain's like, hey, Vickers, can I ask you a question? Are you a robot? She takes such offense at this that she's actually willing to freaking sleep with him just to prove it. My room, 10 minutes. Well, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. I mean, it's like, dude, you got to lay some pipe with Charlize Theron. And just rock on. But, yeah. So, Milburn and Fifield are then back into the area where they found the vases, and we get the little snake-like, or those little tiny worms have now mutated in that black ooze to become these parasitical snake-like things. And Milburn and Fifield are Well, Fifield has freaking weed in his damn respirator, so he's just getting high and shit. And they're trying to communicate with the people there, and this thing freaking kind of like a face hugger, but not really. These things come up, snap onto the dude's arm, and then breaks his arm. So the other dude tries cutting its head off, doesn't work, sprays acid blood. It's like, okay, so these things are xenomorph related, but they're not xenomorphs. These are like the literal first generations of what xenomorphs and facehuggers will eventually become. And so this thing grows its head back and gets into the dude's suit, starts going around his head while he's screaming, and then down the hatch. While Fifield got the acid all over his helmet, and he dipped down into the goo. And so the goo and the helmet and the acid just burn away at his face and whatnot. And he ends up fucking mutating into this weird ass monster that is no longer to be seen until later. That scene was pure horror, which was great in so many ways. But the way that they were talking is like, this thing is beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh, you're so cute. And then it's like, you're strong. It's going to break my arm now. Snap. Why the fuck would you mess around with shit like that, man? Honestly, if I saw something like that, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to wait till smart thing do. Wait until other people are around before you even attempt to fuck around with this shit. That simple. But it's a horror movie. People are stupid, you know? So, yeah, Charlie wakes up, Holloway, looking in the mirror, taking off his ring, puts it down so that his girlfriend can have it later. That's all that's for. And he then sees a little movement in his eye. And then he sees that there's some weird parasite in his eye. Doesn't bother telling anyone. Why would you not tell anybody, folks? That is the question. Why would you not tell anybody that you have a fucking parasite in your eye and that it's fucking moving around all over yourself? And it's like, oh my God, man. Are you really that stupid? Well, one guy was high, right? The other guy was, high on curiosity, I guess. So yeah, they both were high, I guess. Find it interesting because Shaw uses a male-oriented C-section machine or cesarean section machine. Yeah, she actually has to trick the machine in order to get the cesarean, but we'll get to that in a minute or later when it happens. So yeah, they have to go search for Milburn and Fifield because they went off or their communications were cut. David goes off on his own, investigating an area where one of the pup scanners stopped, and Vickers is following his scan and his camera. They get back to the room full of vases where Charlie starts showing signs of being sick, and intercutting with David cutting his feed so that he can't, or so that Vickers can't keep watching him. He actually cuts his feed. She's like, you son of a bitch, you cut me off. And you see more, or a command room, then you see that, or that he's in there. And then now it's full quarantine, fail safe. Holloway's sick. They find Milburn dead, and something, or the snake thing jump right out of his throat. And it's like, what the fuck was that? It's like, oh my God, guys, get the fuck out of there. There's just nothing but death there, man. He knows Wayland's daughter will burn him alive if he asks for a sick day. Yeah. So they call, or now it's a race back. David's is on the bridge with the alien or of the alien craft and sees another hollow recording of the different engineers coming in and that they were planning to head to Earth. So it's like these things died like 2,000 years ago, and they were getting ready to go to Earth before any of us were born. And I got a message. Hold on for 1 second. And it's not important. So, yeah, it's like they were planning on wiping people out because apparently they didn't evolve fast enough. Earth was going to be reseeded 2,000 years ago. So, yeah. I wonder what humans did wrong, as she asks later when the engineer's alive. But, so yeah, they get back to the ship and Charlie's like extremely sick and Vickers doesn't want to bring it on. So she goes Ripley times a million, doesn't want to let him in, but then they open a door and she has a fucking flamethrower. She's like, everybody but Holloway back on the ship. And so Holloway knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to die. And he says goodbye he's like, I love you, baby. And then he's like, do it, man. Do it. Fucking do it. And so she toasts his ass. And this causes Dr. Shaw to be incredibly distraught to the point where she passes out. And so David goes to remove her crucifix. And I love that. She just still like, bam, just grabs his hand and grabs his arm. And he's like, my deepest condolences. But I'm going to have to take this, it might be contaminated. But yes, it was, I mean, as much of an asshole as he is, his death is deserved, but it is kind of sad the way he dies. I will fully freaking admit that. Yeah. So we then find out that she's like, because you asked for, or David's like, because you asked for full quarantine failsafe, I need to ask, did you and or were you and Holloway intimate and whatnot? She's like, 10 hours ago. Well, apparently you're pregnant, 3 months so, in fact, which was one of the hints. If anybody on Twitter managed to see any of my tweets about the mystery review, which I doubt anybody did because nobody ever does. Twitter hates me. But anyway, she's like, there's no bloody way I could be pregnant. Well, it's not exactly a traditional fetus. I want to see it. I don't think that's a good idea. We'll put you into cryo sleep, freeze you, get it out on Earth. Well, she doesn't want to wait. She wants to get that damn thing out of her. So he gives her a sedative, lays her back down, and is like, must feel like your God has abandoned you. What do you mean? Well, your father dying under such similar circumstances. What did he die of again? Ebola. How do you know that? I watched your dreams. This dude is so fucking creepy, man. David is so fucking creepy. There's no way she was only using his ass to find the engineers, man. Because holy shit, this woman should only have about that much care for him at the end of this. To be honest, based on what comes out, I can see why she wanted to get it out. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because one of the things I do like is how they test her to see if she's out cold. Just smacking her in the face. Pinch the cheek. No reaction from Numi Rapace, man. Great acting there. Then prepare her. Terminator, open eyes, kill everybody, run away. It's like, I just love how she does that. She just goes, or it's just like Terminator. And in movement, kicking everybody's ass and then runs. She's constantly using suppressing some pain meds on herself, gets to the med pod. I need cesarean. Error. This thing's only calibrated for male patients. Seek help elsewhere. So she tricks the fucker. Or she's like, surgery, abdominal, penetrating injuries, foreign body. Best way to freaking get this situation going. So this is how they actually does it. She tells it. It's like abdominal surgery for penetrating injuries and a foreign body inside. Pull. So it will use the right tools to pull the sucker out. And I gotta say, man, even sterilizing the area and numbing the area, using the laser to open her up, spread, how she is able to handle that. I mean, yeah, she has to shoot herself up full of freaking pain meds. Those pain meds would usually knock a person out. But she's able to stay conscious during this whole damn thing. She shot herself up like 3 times before this thing came out. She ends up, or the sac ends up bursting while she's still wide open, and the stuff is getting into her system, and ugh. So she rips out the umbilical. The thing is all wiggling around. It's like a squid. And she then gets stapled up, gets out, and runs away while the thing is stuck in there and decontaminating it and whatnot. How you doing, fierce apathetic black queen? Good to see you. And Jace, good to see you, man. Jason, awesome. Good to see you. So yeah, she's now getting out of there, shooting herself up full of pain meds because of all the pain that she is in post-surgery. Holy shit, man. And like I said, Noomi Rapace's was in great shape for this film. So then we see Fifield is outside the ship, and we get the Fifield alien fight where Yannick has to go down with Ravel, or Chance, rather. Chance and Ravel are the navigators and shit. And Ravel is Carter Wong's character. So, yeah, or Benedict Wong, Carter Wong. Yeah, Benedict Wong, sorry. Carter Wong. Whoops, wrong Wong. But anyway, it's like Raised by Wolves, but more surgery. Yeah. So you get the nice little fight with Fifield Alien, and they have a different look in the deleted scenes section of how he looks differently. I kind of like this final film version better because it still shows a little bit of remnants of Fifield in the face. And they end up backing one of those vehicles up over him, and they just then continue backing it off of him, and they blast him with a flamethrower and guns and shit. I'm like, here's what I would have done. I would have backed it over him like they did originally and had it covering the guy. And then I would have just blasted him with, I would have put the freaking flamethrower right up against the face while he was stuck and just pulled the trigger. Incinerate the face. Chances are that body's not going to get up after a bit, especially if it's extra crispy. You don't want ordinary recipe in this case. You want an extra crispy charbroiled black dip. That's how I would have done it. But hey, it's a horror movie. People make stupid decisions. At this time, it's basically Christmas Day, mind you. And maybe even after Christmas Day. Yeah, because they arrived on Christmas, or they were going down at Christmas. It's like, it's Christmas and I want to open my presents. So it's after Christmas at this point. It's like getting close to New Year's. So yeah, Merry Christmas. Everybody's dying. And well, while that's all happening, Shaw makes her way somehow in a freaking hopped up high painkiller high, somehow makes it to Wayland's chambers. Don't know how the fuck that happened, but somehow she got to Wayland's chambers. And so she sees Wayland is old and he's getting dab bathed because he's so old. And she's like, "You've been alive all this time on the ship and whatnot. Why?" "Well, I have a few days of life left in me here. Didn't want to waste them until you could come through with what you promised to meet my maker." And so she's trying to convince him that she was completely wrong, that these assholes wanted to kill everybody. And Dr. Holloway's dead and whatnot. And we must leave. And what would Charlie do if we were this close? Or have you lost your faith, Shaw? I just love Guy Pearce in that makeup, man. He doesn't even look like Guy Pearce. He looks like he almost sounds a little bit like Christopher Lambert in a way when he says, "And what would Charlie do?" You know? Like the Geico commercial, "People make stupid decisions in horror films." Yeah, right? To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody made a parody trailer of Prometheus with Christmas music. Damn fucking straight. Riot Kitty, you won the Best Comment Award. If I ever had one of those awards, I'd give it to you. Because this one won, folks. This comment right here just won the comment section. So yeah. Well, let's see if I can actually. Damn, I can't. I'd have to go to YouTube to do it. But I would pin that comment I would actually pin that comment if I was on YouTube to do it. So yeah. So they get him, or the Fife Field are after Wayland challenges her, she's back in her room, and Yannick comes in. It's like, "Where are you going, Doc? This place? These vases? Or your engineers? This ain't their home. My bet it's a military installation. Whatever they were cooking up in there with all those vases, it got out, and they all died. And they didn't want they didn't want to make it on the goddamn doorstep." So I love how that does seem like the most plausible thing. It's a military installation. Or a research installation. Who knows? I mean, this thing or the one that they wake up is very aggressive. So probably, yeah, military, possibly even militant. And I love how he's like, "Don't you want to know what they have to say?" And he's like, "I don't care." I'm on his side at this point. It's like, I wouldn't give a fuck what they have to say, but I'm not going to let them bring any of that shit back on board with us. I'm planning on leaving their asses here. She's like, "Make sure you do, Captain." The promise to basically make sure that if the worst case scenario happens, get the fuck out. Well, worse than the worst case scenario happens, as we all know. But we also see Vickers versus her father, Wayland, where she comes out and he's like, "You should have stayed at home. Do you think I was going to sit in a boardroom for years while you go out looking for on some godforsaken rock in the middle of space looking for some miracle? A king has his reign and he dies. It's inevitable." Well, he doesn't want to die. That's Wayland's intent, is to somehow become immortal. As if that is possible. The only way that you could become immortal is in your little cryopod where you're frozen for hundreds of years. You're just going to be asleep for most of it. But yeah, making biological warfare creatures the good old-fashioned engineer way. I love that. That is awesome. So yes, they get him. I like the design of that exoskeletal suit to help him walk around without aid. I mean, that is pretty cool. And then he's like, Is there anything else? No, that's it, Father. And I got all these fucking Japanese stink bugs on me. Get off me, man. But, yeah. Right there. Little Japanese stink bug. Possibly be a ladybug. I don't know. But, ping. There. Bounce off the walls. Hit the floor. You're dead. There you go. So now, let's see here. Get rid of some of this talking points. Okay. So they get in, and they're getting ready to go out, and she's down there, and David's like, I didn't know you had it in you. Sorry, poor choice of words. You admitted to knowing that fucker was, yeah, whatever. And so she's like, so what's going to happen? Or I guess that when Waylon dies, you'll be free, right? I mean, and then David's like, well, I suppose every parent wants, or every child wants their parents dead. It's like, oh my God, he just loves giving it right back to humans, you know? I guess I'll be free, but I guess also every child wants their parent dead. And it's like, I didn't. And that's also what she said, too. And it's like, yeah, well, that's you, bitch. So they get there, and it's like, it's perfectly normal, or we could take our helmets off here. And she's like, we don't know what infected Dr. Holloway. It could be airborne. It's not, I can assure you. How do you know? Well, he doesn't say anything. And Wayland already has his helmet off, so it's like, smells fine to me. Where is he, David? Take me to him. Well, we then see the engineer. Now, there is, as Happy Dinosaur said, there's the deleted scene where he actually does talk with him. And Wayland wants to be immortal. He actually tells this engineer, I created this. And so I should be given immortality, essentially. Never had murderous intent about my parents either. Either. That was crazy, right? Megan Bilo, yeah. Take me to your leader, but opposite. Yep. Right, Kitty with the solid puns, girl. Nice. And so yeah, the deleted scene makes more sense of why this thing would want to kill everybody. It's like, you want to fucking be immortal now? Get the fuck out of here. So this thing looks at David because David speaks his language. Then he looks at the old man, and it's like, huh. People should be in good jokey moods today because it's a great day to joke around. I love your humor, right? Really do. So yes, this engineer is like, yep, fuck you. Pick you up, snap your neck, rip your head off, and then bash the old man in the head with it. It's like, what best way to kill a crippled old man than to rip off his son's head and beat him to death? Reminds me of Varsity Blues, folks, if I may, for a moment. Varsity Blues, that high school varsity football movie where Billy Bob tells John Voight, that needle goes anywhere near Wendell's leg. I swear to God, on my mother's grave, I'll rip your arms off, beat you to death with them. Well, this engineer, I will rip your sons off and beat you to death with him. It is just so fucking great. Smacks him over the head, and freaking Waylon's dying, and you see the white, milky shit coming out of David's mouth, and his body's over there. Ford, the doctor, Ford woman, is scared stiff. She gets a freaking palm straight to the chest, possibly hard enough to crack her sternum and completely stop her heart. And the other guys are getting killed too, while it watches her run. Now, while this thing's waking up, she's like, ask him where it came from, what's in those things, why do you hate us, what did we do wrong? Those are the questions I'd be asking this motherfucker. But fucking Waylon's like, if she opens her mouth again, shoot her. It's like, really? Fuck, dude. she's been trying to tell you for a while that these things were planning on killing. And even David confirms it before they wake him up. It's like they were planning on heading to Earth. Why Earth? Well, in order to create, one must first destroy. So yeah, so this thing gets the ship or brings up its navigation system, gets up, takes a breath, gets in the pod, getting ready to take off. She's running out of there, and you see the derelict ship while Vickers and Yannick are also isolating the scan. So you see that it is indeed a derelict ship like the one in Alien. And so she's running away. I watched this movie when I was 14, I think, and I couldn't drink milk for a week afterwards. Oh, God. Imagine if you saw Alien. Probably wouldn't be able to drink milk for a month or two. Or Aliens, even. Because there was so much milk in that one. But anyway, I love what, she's telling Yannick, this ship is taking off. We need to stop it. We're not stopping anything, Shaw. We're going home. Vickers is like, fuck you. It's like, or she's like, fuck you, Shaw. I don't care about you anymore. So Yannick's, or she's like, it's carrying death and it's heading for Earth. And so it's like, if you don't stop it, there won't be an Earth to go back to. I know what I'm asking you, but please believe me. She's convincing these people to kill themselves in order to save the planet, which they do. Well, him being destroyed by his maker due to his own ignorance was a fitting death. Exactly, and I love what he says, too. There's nothing. And he's like, yes, have a good journey, Mr. Wayland. So this dude is, so they get ready to use the ion propulsion, and Vickers is freaking out, and he's like, Vickers, I'm going to eject your life pod onto the surface. That's 2 years of life, or do you want to spend your next 3 minutes with me? And so she runs, she gets out, and they get ready to turn their ship into a bullet collision course. Hands off! And they end up crashing that ship. Now, the collision of the ship, this thing is going rapidly at this thing, but when they show the ship colliding with the other one, they go super slow. And it's like, okay, I guess. Now, we get the dumbest scene in the entire movie here, folks. Running away from a ship that is super big, rolling towards you like a wheel. And you're running away. You're not running sideways. You're running on the track of this thing's trajectory. Why the fuck would you do that? Why not see, okay, this thing's going this toward me. I'm going to run that way instead. That's the smart thing to do. No. Nope. You can't have smart in a horror movie. If you have smart in a horror movie, it's no longer a horror movie. It's less of a horror movie. So we see Vickers get crushed because she's stupid. She really is. That woman deserved her death. Anyway, this is a bad habit with my family. We watch movies completely out of order. So Alien, I watched when I was 19. Prometheus was the first Alien movie I watched. Well, it is a prequel. So I was able to stomach Alien because I watched Prometheus first. Oh, and I watched Aliens before Alien. So, oh my God, you really do watch them out of order, don't you? You just put it on random, don't you? But, yeah. At least freaking, what's her name, actually did run sideways. But then she ends up getting caught between a small little outcropping of rock and the ship. And you get the oxygen warning. You got like a minute left of oxygen. You got 30 seconds left of oxygen. She makes it into the life pod that will be 2 years. And she gets an axe. So she's ready to go just in case. She's getting ready to supplies and whatnot. And then she sees that the Pauling med pod is opening up. So she looks up. Well, then you see the tentacles. And this fucker's still alive. It's like, what the fuck? I ain't spending 2 years in the same freaking thing as that. What if that thing gets loose? You know? Well, it's not like she's going to live that long anyway. David's on the comm. You need to get out of there now. Why? What's going on? He's coming. Who is? Well, apparently the engineer survived. Yeah, that's my favorite. Or that's my family for you. Revenge of the Sith was the first Star Wars movie I watched. And then Empire Strikes Back. Matrix Resurrections was my... Oh, God, woman. Riot, I would hug you if I was there out of sheer pity because you saw Matrix Resurrection first. Damn, that is just... That's bad. That you need a hug for that. I mean, if I was there, I'd hug you because you need a hug for that. Oh, I feel bad for you in this case. But yeah, so engineer tries killing her. She's like, die! Opens up the door. Proto weirdo, big old fucking face hugger like thing is going up against the engineer guy. This dude is seriously shocked as shit. It's like, well, I'm about to die, but I swear to God, my reason for wanting to kill you all is absolutely freaking justified. Look what the fuck you created. What the hell's wrong with you people? Well, she gets out of there and David's still alive. It's like, I need your help. Well, none of us is leaving this place. There's another ship. Well, ain't that fucking convenient? So it's like, why the fuck would I help you? And and he's like, it's not the only ship. Getting back to Earth is straightforward. I don't want to go back to where we came from. I want to go back to where they came from. Could you do that, David? Yes, I believe I can. Blame my dad. It's like, let's watch Resurrection, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, Dad. I know, right? I mean, believe me, when the first Matrix came out, you know what? I'll do a mystery review on that in January or something. The first Matrix. Stay tuned, Riot Kitty. That is a good question. Why help? I mean, I also was like, where's my cross? Yeah, it's inside my pouch. Why wouldn't it be on the ship? Anyway, but so yeah, she sends out her little distress mission as they get out and whatnot. And it's like, there's only death here now. If you hear the signal, don't attempt to trace it back to its origin. It's New Year's Day, the year of our Lord 2094, and I'm going home. Or this is Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, and I'm going home. And you see another craft take off, which she and David is in, and then we see the dead face hug engineer shaking and all that. You see the shark-like fin kind of thing poking out of its chest, and you see the Deacon alien. They call it Deacon because of the pointed head. Slough right out of the damn thing. And it's like, oh, ain't that cute? You cute little shit. And I didn't say when I would do it. Mind you. I could do it either sometime in the end of the January or sometime. I could even save it for a different month, even. So yeah, there you go. Ha ha ha. Beat you. But anyway, you get the Deacon, and this thing sloughs right out of their body. You see the sack connected to it, and it then gets up. It's like, where the fuck am I? Clunk! It yawns and has a secondary mouth, distending its jaws out even further, and then you get your credits. Oh yeah, that was gross. I was like, kill it with fire. Yeah, right? So yeah, you get the Deacon alien, and nobody knows what happened to Deacon. To this day, nobody knows what happened to that fucker. It's probably just running around that planet LV-223, and it's just probably, I don't know. There's no life on that planet, so who knows what the fuck it's doing. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. Now, objectively, folks, this film is around an 8.5 out of 10. You got some shady CG. You got some lines, or you got some acting that could use a little bit more work, and some writing issues. But other than that, this film is very solid from an objective standpoint. But if you also use an objective standpoint with connecting it to the other Alien movies, this movie's writing is contradicted in later films. So, yeah. Subjectively, I do like the Prometheus film. I don't connect it to the Alien universe because, well, it destroys the continuity that I think is more solid. Subjectively, I'd put this at about an 8.5. So, yeah. With moviegoer, you like horror movies, if you like alien movies or whatever, this movie's for you. It's about a 9 to a 9.5 out of 10. I won't say it's a perfect moviegoer movie because there will be times where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I can pause to take a piss. Who knows? But, or get some concessions. Sure, I'll pause for that too. Me, Prometheus is a solid film. It is objectively done well. Ridley Scott did a good film here. Anyway, for hints for next week's Christmas movie mystery movie review, Christmas Time with the LAPD. If you know it, do not spoil it, folks. If you know it, don't spoil it. LAPD and Christmas Time. So yes, don't spoil it. But I will also be giving more hints on Twitter. What I don't know if people will see them. I mean, honestly, folks, I don't know what else to do. Twitter's not allowing my tweets to be seen, so I don't know what social media to use. I'll probably stick with Minds. So if you're if you get a Minds account, look up Orange Hat Reviews, follow me there. Because, I mean, I might do it there. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do anymore when it comes to, you know what? I'll give hints. Actually, I'll give hints on my community tab on YouTube. I will give hints on YouTube's community tab for my channel. So stay tuned to YouTube. Turn on the notification bell if you haven't already, because that way you can, but also check the community tab every now and then too. But anyway, thank you to Riot Kitty, Vanja, Lovely Sherry, Jason Fox, Happy Dino 8000, Fierce Apathetic Black Queen, Ruben, Michelle Crocker, and who else? Keely Chow, thank you for being in here. Lovely Sherry. And thank you all so much for supporting the stream. Take it easy. I'm going to go get some lunch. See you all next week. Have happy holidays, folks. And remember, stay humble.